Hello and welcome to another 31 Days of Horror 2019 video. Today we are going to be taking a look at Audrey Rose. Yet again, Leslie did not want to go through the trouble of having James pick something that she might not like.
Well, I might not like this either, but...
True. But we are going... This I know is from like the 70s. So we're going old school. I do like to check out a few films pre-80s, if possible. They usually end up being a lot of the more black and white type stuff, because even if I had seen those, I don't remember them. The 70s weren't really big for a lot of horror. There is horror films out there in the mainstream, but they're more along the lines. I think there's some ghost stories, a lot of ghost stories types things, and then you get some of the exploitation films start coming out a little bit. Drive-in type, things like that are popping up as well in the 70s. But yeah, I believe this is a ghost story as far as I know.
I can't say anything. I read the back, but I can't.
As far as I know, it's like a ghost story. I could be wrong, but I think it is. Maybe it could be a demon possession thing. That's also a thing that started to come around. So I should probably start reading these things before I start giving my thoughts on what I think it's going to be. Because really, trying to give my thoughts on something I don't know anything about, it's really hard.
And you must say, you could sound stupid, huh?
It's a slasher film, isn't it?
No, it's not.
Those didn't come out.
That I can say.
That you can say. All right, so...
why did I choose this?
Why did you... I don't know why you chose this.
Because I read the back.
Because you read the back.
and because Anthony Hopkins is in it.
Oh, yes, Anthony Hopkins is apparently in this film, so... That's what she's going with. She's going with 1970s, Anthony Hopkins, horror film. It's got to be good.
It should be alright. I mean, it's probably earlier on in his career, right? I guess. I don't know when he started, but...
Pre-Silence of the Lambs.
Well, way before that, yeah.
So, I expect it to be slow.
Yes. I expect to be bored.
Yeah, I expect it to be bored, but should still be good. That's what I'm going with.
You just gotta stick with it.
Yeah, you gotta get into that mindset. So, don't be looking for something energetic and fast-paced and action-y or anything like that, or even comical. Figure something slow, maybe suspenseful.
Yeah. But not a lot of gore or anything.
Yeah, just good family watching.
Well, you're stepping over the line. Oh. What is it rated? Does it say?
PG.
Oh shit! Really?
So there you go. Good family watching.
Oh, I didn't read that.
All right, let's check this out and tell you what we really think about it right after this. And we're back from Audrey Rose. I was wrong. Completely wrong. That was not what the movie was about whatsoever.
I couldn't tell you that.
No, you couldn't tell me that. Wow. Yeah, so how do you even describe this? So the movie's about reincarnation.
Hold on a second. Are we gonna do spoilers, or we're still not doing it?
Well, I don't think you have to worry about spoilers with this movie. Nothing you can really spoil. It's not like there's some surprise anything type of stuff going on. But yeah, so the movie's about reincarnation. Essentially, a family of 3, parents and a daughter, is being terrorized by a man who thinks that his daughter has been reincarnated into this family's daughter. And then the movie goes off. It just goes in so many directions. It is. It's funny. It's classified as a horror film, but it's like very, very.
I would call it like a drama.
Light on horror. Yeah, it's primarily a drama, and you don't get too many drama horrors. per se. But yeah, it is a horror film. It's just very, very light. So that being said, in terms of recommendations, I'll go here right now.
No.
It's you if you're into horror,
You're not gonna like.
you probably will not like this film. It is not. It doesn't hit any of the standard horror tropes that you would come to expect. You know, it's not scary. It's not gory.
It's not suspenseful.
It's not suspenseful or anything like that. So all the things that, you know, most people look for in a horror film, not really contained within this particular film. Like we said, it was PG, and but in 1970, PG means something. Means made for TV practically. This wasn't a made for TV movie, but it could have been. Let's see. So, film's directed by a gentleman by the name of Robert Weiss, who
wow.
is not really a horror director per se, but he is one of the biggest directors ever in Hollywood film. Why do I say that? Okay, I know all you guys out there watching horror movies are like, I've never heard of this guy. Who is this guy? Well,
Yeah, I don't know the
you're
name, but
gonna know the films, even if it's not in the genre. West Side Story, one of the biggest musicals ever made. The Sound of Music, oh, one of the other biggest musicals ever made. And you're thinking, well, okay, so he did musicals. Why? That's why I don't. No, the Andromeda Strain, Star Trek: The Motion Picture. And then the stupids. He's done comedies. He's done it Rooftops, if you're into those type of things. He's done a ton of work. Very prolific. And obviously Oscar winning. So, in terms of directing and that type of thing, hey, I cannot knock anything on this film. It's a well-directed film. It's just, is it your cup of tea or not? Really, that's what it comes down to. It's written by a gentleman named Frank De Felitta, who apparently it's based off of his novel. So he wrote the novel Audrey Rose, and then did the screenplay for it. And he's done a whole bunch of other stuff. ZPG, Underwater Assignment. He was writing for that. Tales of Tomorrow, Killer in the Mirror, Dark Night of the Scarecrow, Trapped. So he's kind of stuck with sort of the sci-fi thriller horror as being his main thing. So what? You don't know none of those? Okay. So it's not that he's not familiar with the genre at all. He is very well, but he's so diverse that I think he has a lot of influences going on, right? As a lot of writers do, they tend to get something in their mind and decide to write a story about it. And I think probably what happened with him was reincarnation was kind of a big thing going on, 60s and 70s type thing, right? And he probably decided, oh, I'm going to write a book, and wrote this story about it, and then got it optioned and wrote the screenplay to go with it. I could be just making that up, but I'm thinking that's probably pretty accurate. The film itself has 4 main people in it. Mom, dad, daughter, and crazy guy. Crazy guy is the one we mentioned earlier. A very young and yet
still old looking.
Still recognizable Anthony Hopkins. Do I need to tell you what Anthony Hopkins is in?
If you do, then I don't even want to say. Like, you're stupid. Like,
Yeah.
seriously.
So, I mean, he's been in so many things, but Oscar-winning horror film, you can't say that very often. The first one, well, maybe not the first one, but really, first modern one, The Silence of the Lambs.
Such a good movie.
And then, obviously, he played the Hannibal character. You haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
You can't say that. played the Hannibal character in other films and stuff. He also played in Hitchcock, that interesting film about Alfred Hitchcock, and I think it was his work on Psycho. So he's in there. The mom is played by Marsha Mason. Now, Marsha Mason, believe it or not, this was not her first role, but it was probably one of her bigger ones. And then from this, she went on and did a bunch of television work, and a whole bunch of different one-offs, which happens to a lot of people, right? But one thing I thought was interesting is in 1986, she played Aggie in Heartbreak Ridge, that Clint Eastwood film. You keep saying these things, but you've never seen these films. Like, wait until you watch, okay? And something that Leslie, I don't know if you've seen it or not, maybe, from 1990. In fact, in 1990, she kind of had a resurgence. She started off with Stella.
I saw it.
Yeah? Yep. And then went on to Drop Dead Fred before, like I said, going into a slew of television. So she must have taken a little bit of a break where she wasn't doing a lot of work, but like I said, come the 90s, she sort of ramped it up again. The daughter, this is something you wanted to know.
Yes. Played
by Susan Swift. I will let you comment on her right now.
One face? Like, seriously.
Get it. She's a kid actor.
But there's plenty of very good child actors out there, and she was not one.
It had to be one of those things where you're like, she must have known somebody, right? This is her first acting job. Kind of shows. Because, it didn't matter what emotion she was portraying.
Same face.
Same face. Like, except for the non-emotion. She has the non-emotion face and then the happy face, which is the same as the sad face, which is the same as the scared face, which is like they're all the same face.
It was so bad. Like,
oh, man. She went on to do Harper Valley PTA after this, and then really not much of anything through the 80s. Maybe settled down to have a family or something like that, possibly. She would have been coming up to that age. And then in 1995, her last credit, Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers, where she plays Mary.
Now I'm going to have to watch that. I want to see her face if it's still the same.
That's the whole thing. I would not... I would not have recognized her. It's It's
probably the same.
The last, and certainly not least, the father.
Porn star face.
With his porn stash going on. Played by John Beck, the great John Beck.
The great. You knew who he was?
Yes.
Oh, God, I didn't know who he was.
111 credits to his name in IMDb. Gotta know something. Up until his last film credit was 2005's Crash Landing. That one you could do that for. Jeez. But, I mean, if you want to go back to his early careers, he started off with television things just like everybody did back then with, I Dream of Jeannie, soap operas and such. But in 1966, he did Cyborg 2087. That one you've probably not seen, right? And then, again, back into television. Lots of television. Mod Squad, etc., 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 etc. Until he came around and did a little known sci-fi hit called Rollerball, where he played Moon Pie. We're going to take a little minute here to deal with our little guy. So like I was saying, did Rollerball, and then did a whole bunch of other films, Audrey Rose and all that kind of stuff. Ended up being on Flamingo Road. Yeah, and then all sorts of things like The Love Boat, and he's done so many shows. It's not funny. Dallas, he was Mark Grayson, which is probably where most people my age and older. Did you watch Dallas? No.
But I watched those other shows.
I know my family definitely did.
They're amazing, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But then he did Deadly Illusion in 1987 and all sorts of stuff. You know, Murder, She Wrote, Santa Barbara. Like he's one of those guys who has always worked, and he's worked on like almost every TV show pre-2000. I mean, Thunder in Paradise, you know, right?
I don't know.
If I bring up a picture, well,
I wouldn't even know what that is. No.
you know, Matlock, yes. It was only 2 episodes. It wasn't
so
like
many things that I watched and I don't recognize.
you
them
know,
now.
Heart to Heart, Secrets of the Heart movie. That's what I thought you would have known him right off the bat. You know, he voiced Punisher in the Spider-Man TV show. Walker, Texas Ranger. Like, the guy's been in everything.
This is crazy, and I thought he was a porn guy.
Yeah, you thought, well, maybe that's the character he plays in all of these shows. But that aside, there is one other person. I mean, there are other people in this film, but there's one other person we have to mention. And that's the lawyer. Yes, a lawyer gets involved. But we'll get into that a little bit later, maybe. Or maybe right after this. Played by Higgins. From Magnum P.I. Yes. John Hillerman is in this film.
And him I recognize.
And you were like, hey, isn't that the guy from Magnum P.I.?
Him I recognize.
Yes, because... yeah. So the film has horror elements at the beginning, and then for some reason decides to turn into an episode of Law and Order. I don't get it.
The whole thing didn't make sense, and it pissed me off. Like, this would not happen in real life. The whole thing was so fucking stupid. I'm just like, what?
So here's the spoiler.
I just want to say everything.
Go, just spill it out. For this one, I don't think many of these people are really going to watch it anyways. Go for it. Spill whatever you need to. Say whatever you want.
The whole stupid thing was, okay, so you got the Anthony Hopkins who is saying basically, hey, you know, your daughter there is really my daughter, reincarnated in your daughter. And then, what the hell? Oh, yeah. So that's basically the whole thing. And then he ends up, like, taking the daughter to his own apartment, which he has gotten in the building.
Essentially, and here's the problem. He gets assaulted by the dad because he ends up at their door while their daughter's having a moment. And I think they were expecting the doctor to be coming. So he opens the door and sees this guy who's been kind of essentially stalking them and preying on them. And so he loses it and goes at him. So they end up fighting. And so the mom comes out, leaving her daughter alone, who was having an episode, who they weren't able to control. But she comes out and, you know, pries them apart. And immediately this guy, this Anthony Hopkins character, goes into their apartment, locks them out. And, of course, the cops have already been called by their neighbors and stuff because they live in an apartment. And we're talking like posh ass apartment. It's like it makes our house look like an apartment.
They haven't seen our house.
They can see our house. Like this, we're talking like
they see one wall.
Painted,
a wall anywhere.
Like Michelangelo paintings on the ceiling. Wood.
It's a 2-story apartment.
2-story, probably has more square footage in it than our house.
Yeah, it was
right.
Millions of dollars.
Like, crazy apartment.
Sure. Yeah.
So, police show up, and eventually they the super opens up the door and they go, and it's chain locked. So they're like, why they didn't just bust down the door? It's his place. He could have just busted it in, but whatever. But then they realize, oh, what did they call it? A servant's entrance service entrance or something? Yeah. I don't know. So they go there, and of course he's already left with their daughter, essentially kidnapped her, and to which we find out, oh, by the way, he's rented an apartment in the building, which is where he took the daughter. And so he goes in there and gets arrested, and for some reason the film decides to take this weird jump into, we are now trying him for kidnapping,
but he's not.
But his defense is reincarnation.
Yeah, it's his daughter, so he wasn't kidnapping her. And that's like I felt like it was the majority of the movie then. It was just this whole freaking court thing, and
portion
it's like,
of the rest of the movie.
This is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. They had what do you call that religious person who was talking about the reincarnation, like a dove? I don't know what you call it. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but there was some religious person testifying on the stand about reincarnation, and it's like, no, this is bullshit. Like, oh, it pissed me off.
Yeah, it's like, it wouldn't matter if she was proven to be the reincarnation of his daughter. He is still not the father of that girl, and he broke into their apartment and kidnapped her. So that's all the law needed to know. So I don't know why they were going through all of this other stuff. Like, it was clearly a film where somebody was trying to, get on the whole reincarnation bandwagon, and use it, but there are aspects of it that just, like, whether you believe in reincarnation or don't believe in reincarnation, there are, like we said, that whole portion that's in courts and dealing with it, it's like, it doesn't matter. It has no basis on the law here. But that being said, it did have elements that I liken to something like The Exorcist. There was moments that were like that, like The Exorcist starts off, we all know now that she was possessed by the devil or a demon. But at the beginning, they're all like, she's not possessed by a devil or a demon. She's mentally, deranged in some fashion or something, right? So they keep dealing with it like that. This is very similar, except instead of going possessed by demon, it's possessed by the reincarnation of... it's a weird thing, and it's mostly drama. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. It's where Exorcist is more drama when she's being dealt with as the mentally ill child. This one was more drama after the fact. Mm-hmm. And when she was, dealing with this mental illness, she was really like, that's when the horror elements are coming out. Like, they're like, oh my gosh, anything can, she burns her hand on cold windows and, stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, I get it. I just wasn't really expecting the courtroom drama and that whole second half of the film to come about. Yeah. I was expecting more of, perhaps, yes, she is reincarnated. Perhaps that whole, Audrey Rose character comes to the forefront and tries to take over Ivy or something. This is what I expected.
Well, and you didn't read the back and I did. And it's not even like I thought from reading it. Because from reading it, what I thought was going to happen was, okay, they have this normal daughter, right? And then all of a sudden, she starts behaving weirdly and whatever. And then he shows up and is like, this is what's going on. This is why she's behaving like this, because she's really my daughter. Mm-hmm. That's what the back basically said, which is still not what happened. Like, he was there right away.
Yes. Yes. And that's the whole thing, right? Like, the other thing I was kind of thinking was they were going to get, because they do hint towards him being sort of a scam artist or something like that. I was going to, possibly see that the film would go down the road where he is manipulating the family until he eventually outs the father or kills the father and ends up taking, the place of the father in this family, and
Yeah, I could see that.
seeing
going
something
on,
along
yeah.
those lines. Like I could. These were the kind of thoughts that were going through my head, and then out of nowhere they end up with this court thing going on.
They
And
could
I
have
was
done
just like,
anything else besides that, and it would have been
What?
so much better. Like, it just made no sense. And if people saw this back in the 70s, were they being like, oh, okay, this makes sense, or like, really?
I have to show this to you because there's a user review on here.
From an idiot, because I don't. No, you can't find it.
No, I can't find it. Shoot. This is the problem. They show you one and then you click on it and it takes you to a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know. Oh, here it is. Were they watching the same movie we were watching?
They're obviously just like lying. Because there was nothing scary at all.
A really scary horror picture. This movie absolutely terrified me. I watched it alone one night and that was a very big mistake. I almost wet myself.
Were you afraid?
I literally turned the lights on in the house about halfway through the movie. I love a good scare, but this was a little much for me. Things kind of settled down by the ending. Thank God.
If you're watching this and you're the freaking idiot who wrote that, I know you were doing it just to be stupid. Because no.
No, there's many people who are...
There was absolutely nothing scary in that movie at all. At all. Like, at all. Not one moment was I even a little bit like, boo. No. I would not even classify this as horror in any way. I would classify it as a drama, and a bad one at that. Like,
Well, yeah, no, I get the horror classification. It just... It's that second half. It's the second half of the movie that's just like, why? And then they throw a little thing on at the end to be a little creepy again. But it's I honestly, I don't know. I don't get it. Apparently somebody had actually read the book. Said it's not as creepy as the source material. Which I can understand, because
they're never the same.
This wasn't that creepy.
It wasn't creepy.
Right?
I could see
There were some moments,
bits, but
like I said, when the horror elements are going on. Honestly, it's mostly due to music. If the music was different, then the film probably wouldn't come across as horror at all. But because they have that scary music going along with it, with a girl who's essentially like flipping out and the parents are trying to deal with it, it gives it that horror vibe. And I admittedly, as parents, if somebody seems to essentially be stalking your child,
yes,
that
was
is
scary. Yeah.
horrific.
Yep.
That is very horrific, especially considering, they noticed it and he was. So yeah, as parents, you can really understand how scary it would be. Not somebody stalking you, but somebody stalking your kids is the next level, right? And you get it. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go there. What is up with the Catholics? Because according to this movie, they burn snowmen in effigy.
I've never seen that ever. That's just weird for this movie.
Like, seriously. Okay, so you know what? Screw spoilers with this, because this is pointless. You're not watching it. I know you aren't. They, for some reason, while this court thing is going on, pull their daughter from regular school and put her into like a private Catholic school. And the only shots we have of her at this school are first the kids going around holding hands in a circle while they build a gigantic snowman. And I mean gigantic. Ladders are needed to build this thing. The head is like two of us put together.
Oh, yeah, that's
like
huge.
it's huge.
It's huge.
And the next time we see the school, they've set a bonfire around it. Like picture witchcraft and witches being burned at the stake type thing.
But
They're
it's
doing
a
this to a
snowman.
snowman.
Why?
I don't know. I've never in my life seen anything like this. Admittedly, it ended up being my favorite part of the film. Because I've never seen anything quite like it, and it was the most messed up thing.
It was so weird. It was so weird.
Yeah,
Why?
it put, like, and this is one of the things, I bet you this is where the book is probably a lot creepier than this film, because that's probably explained and what's going on there, and there's probably a whole description of that whole ceremony and such, and
then
things
you
like
see
that.
like a nun looking out a window at them, right? It's like, okay.
Yeah, so there are aspects about the film that are clearly a little creepy and a little, not all there, but it really does play more to the drama side than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like you said, you can't even see it as a horror film. That's part of the problem I find with, and why I'm not a big fan of 1970s horror films. Unless the subject matter itself is, like The Exorcist, where it's, possession by Satan, those type of things. A lot of them really, they're either like a psychological, they could be called a psychological thriller or something like that. They're in terms of, especially today's today's eyes, where things are so graphic and gory and over the top and very, very spooky and scary, they, like we expected, tend to be a lot slower. Not as graphic.
Which is
You don't
fine.
see as much. Which is good for some types of films. This film didn't really play up. Well, the suspense wasn't really the thing it was going for, right? So it wasn't like things were tense leading up to any of the real episodes, call them episodes in the film, set pieces, if you will. It was just the story being told, and whenever those things happened, they were kind of like bum bum bum. And it was more that what was happening in the film was supposed to be the horror elements, the things that should get under your skin, things that you should feel uneasy about type thing. And to a certain degree, sure. But I guess you had to be, back when this film was made, then to really get a true sense of what the film was like, because I don't know. I guess, it came out in 77, so it had to compete with what, Star Wars? Did anybody actually go to see Audrey Rose? Maybe that was the problem. They were like, why do we even try?
I don't think they tried.
Is there anything you got to add to this? Is there anything you want to say? Is there anything you want to complain about?
Clearly, I didn't like it. The time period, whatever. There was plenty of good things. Like, when was Rosemary's Baby? That was all right. Wasn't that sometime in the 70s, right? Well, there was weird stuff going on there. I don't know. I wouldn't put it as just a time period thing. It's just...
Yeah, but I mean, you look at it now and how many horror films are put out, and then you look back then, like how many horror films were put out type thing. It's almost night and day.
You have
Though,
to
I mean,
rate it.
Yeah, ratings. 2.
I was gonna say 2.
2. It's
But
technically the film is there. It's
it's not
it's a well-made film.
Yeah.
It's even, well, for the most part, well acted.
Except for the daughter.
The daughter is an exception. The mom plays up the hysterical woman role, which is not necessarily her fault. That is how women were technically portrayed back then in film and television. The dad has a tendency to be that, I don't know, one-shot pony type thing. He just has this, I don't believe in it and I'm going to beat him up. Right? Like that's his mentality. It's just, I don't believe in what what you think is going on, what he's saying, so next time I see him I'm going to beat him up. Whatever. Sure. But that's not the fault of the actors. That's the writing. So, yeah. No recommends for me. No recommends for this film for me. And here's where Leslie fools everybody, goes, I recommend this film!
Yes, but not how you would think. I would recommend it to like people your mom's age who like a drama.
Nothing says, watching Beaches and then throwing on Audrey Rose.
Hey, no, I love Beaches. Don't get me started on Beaches. Oh my God, that's one of the best movies ever. I can't.
Oh, what are we gonna watch today? Well, I figured we'd start with Driving Miss Daisy, and then finish it with Audrey Rose.
No. Why? I can't even believe you put this in the same sentence with. I can't.
You said dramas.
Yes. Just,
Oh, let's get some tearjerkers in. First we'll watch My Girl, and then we'll watch Audrey Rose.
Oh my Lord. You're going on a tangent and you don't even make sense anymore.
You said dramas.
Yeah, because to me it is. You tell your mom to watch it and then see what she says. There you go.
She'd be like, that's boring.
Yeah, because it's a drama.
Oh, yeah. Have you seen Audrey Rose? Like, anybody out there? Did you make it through Audrey Rose? I'm sure some of you out there started watching Audrey Rose. I just need to know if you finished it, because.
And how old are you?
When did you watch it?
Did
how
you
old
watch it
were
in
you when you
77?
watched it? Yeah, because it's not what I expected at all. Not at all.
Because I could see that. If somebody actually watched it when it came out and they were like, oh yeah, that's pretty good, whatever, then I can kind of see that. Mm-hmm. It's just now.
Well, yeah. I mean, looking back on, yeah.
It's like my mom saying The Birds was so freaking scary, and then I watched it and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Like,
my parents used to tell me about Psycho. Oh my God, I didn't want to take a shower for a long time. I was like, oh.
See, it's relative. So
it is relative, but still. Like, we shouldn't be coming out of this going, this is pretty much a drama. And they're like, no, it was a horror movie. I'm like, no, it's a drama. No, it's a horror movie. What did you think was a drama back then? I don't know that I want to watch them. Oh, man. I don't know. I gotta find some more upbeat films to watch.
I can't. I mean, yesterday was okay, and I can't do this anymore.
More 31 Days of Horror. We love this, don't we? Yes, we do.
Can you see my eyes?
I love my 31 Days of Horror! Anyways, comment down below. Let us know anything at this point. Like, have you been watching these videos all along? Have you been following along? Have you, or did you just watch Audrey Rose and then looked it up on YouTube and wanted to know what somebody else thought of it. Because that's probably the only way you got here. You were like, oh my God, did somebody else watch this damn movie? Let me put it into YouTube. Audrey Rose. Oh, somebody reviewed it. Let's see. Oh, they had a lot to say about that movie. Look at how long this video is. Yeah, I'm going to watch that.
Okay, we're so looking up on YouTube now of somebody else because I want to see what somebody else said. So we're totally doing that now. Yeah.
Anyways, more 31 Days of Horror to come. Thanks for watching. Until next video, take care. Have a good one. Now we got to go watch YouTube.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm not joking. What the heck? You got another baby? Seriously? I really gotta read the whole thing.
And I got to start reading them in general.
Oh, that wasn't a thing.
Well, how am I supposed to give my opinion about a thing? I'm based on a cover. And it's not even, this is original artwork.
I could do it based on a cover. You show me a cover, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna like that.
Not only stalking your kid. Did you do it again?
Yep. Oh, James, ew, that's gross, man. And really, you missed that spot the first time.
Be right back.
Lord.
Mommy's got to stop pressing your pukey button. Stay.
I think we got one too many.